Do you play video games? Have you ever played a video game and thought that it wasn't worth all the hype? Well, we've played some games like that, and we have to talk about it. With so many games coming out every year, it's important that we always talk about those games that were maybe overrated. So grab a seat and let's get started. First, we have Hitman 3. Listen, don't get too upset with this being on the list, but Hitman 3 just wasn't very good. I'll say it. It was too much of the same as Hitman 1 and Hitman 2. Obviously, the stealth was incredible when it came to gameplay, but this was supposed to be the end to the trilogy. It was supposed to round the whole series off, but this wasn't very good at all. Instead, it was lacking in some places. We won't get into the missions, or the fact that the final one wasn't actually a Hitman level. I mean, come on now. That's the whole reason we're here for this game. However, this was also supposed to pay off those 5 years of engaging narrative, except it wasn't. Obviously, people don't play Hitman for the story, but that was the whole point of this game. Hitman 2016 had begun to bring in the areas of 47's childhood brother, Lucas Gray. Hitman 2 showed us that 47 was behind the death of Diana's parents, which was a good move. Then 47 had more agency in between the different levels more than ever, which ended up showing a lifetime's worth of memories while adding more weight to who you had to track down during the mission. It would have been a great way to start to elevate Gray in the final installment, but he was killed off right away instead. Diana ends up waving away 47's forgiveness as the two started working together again. Afterward, 47 takes a sip of the memory eraser juice so he can kill forever. Even that whole scene was centered on that final meeting. You know, the one with the Illuminati-like Providence, and he ends up taking him out in such a boring way. It was basically putting me to sleep. Overall, Hitman 3 felt more like a DLC instead of a whole game that was supposed to complete the series. What do you think? Do you feel the same about Hitman 3? Next up is Resident Evil Village. This game was marketed complete for Lady Dimitrescu, being the 2021's version of Jack Baker, who is a persistent enemy you end up building a set of encounters around. This was supposed to be such a defiable part of Resident Evil Village overall. Did you know that? Well, did you also know she ended up dying within the first fifth of the game? Yes, she died, and I was very disappointed when I found out about it. Also, the best encounters with Lady D were all used in marketing, since Capcom completely doubled down on the character in order to sell the game. That's great PR, don't get me wrong, I know it is. However, you then need the rest of the game's villains and pace to match. Otherwise, it's just going to be boring and a complete waste of money and time. When it comes to persistent enemies overall, Village does next to nothing. Another thing to be disappointed about. Also, the game didn't do much with the villains' mechanics or even the way you should deal with them while playing the game. That makes this game lacking some good villains to fight with. To top it all off, the storyline, which was centered around Chris Redfield, ended up shooting RE7's Mia Winters, which made absolutely no sense as to why he didn't explain what was happening to Ethan himself. I mean, come on, that whole thing made me so frustrated while I was playing. Did you play Resident Evil Village? What did you think about it? Do you think they messed up on the villain front? Next up, we have Forza Horizon 5. Now, the graphics are beautiful, and it's nice to look at. However, that doesn't sell a game. It was so predictable that I don't think it was worth the money to play it. The car switching intro with the various slow motion stunts to the races were also so predictable. This is also all scripted for you to win at the very last minute. Visually, it looks amazing as you see everything go through and happen, but it ends up being its biggest downfall. It's a formula that everyone is very used to seeing, but the franchise came into its own in Horizon 3 and 4, but they need to be careful of just cranking out more games that are just the carbon copy of the previous one. Another thing that has slowly killed the mainline Forza games isn't just the microtransactions, but it's actually the feeling of stagnancy and repetition. Games that were built perfectly are able to bring in money, like Far Cry 6, but then when it's done wrong, you get Forza 5. Honestly, this game was just made to show off how powerful the Xbox hardware is, but there were no new tricks for us to enjoy. What did you think about Forza Horizon 5? Do you think the graphics make up for everything else? Also, keep watching, because we have more overrated games you're going to want to know about. Next on our list is Returnal. Returnal was probably the most demanding title in PlayStation exclusive history. However, Housemarque adapted a bullet hell aesthetic to a punishing roguelike with random rewards and made a game that divided the players. Overall, the gunplay, atmosphere, and sense of reward was all amazing, but that's only if you make it through. Only 23% of people actually made it to and beat the final boss, while everyone else gave up Returnal over time. I don't blame them, to be honest. The reviews for the game have gone very well, but its core feeling is just too abusive of the player's time. Upgrades and weapons are completely random, with only weapon skill carrying over between runs. How long is an average run stretch? It's at least 45 minutes, which means you've got nothing to show other than some different types of ammo, damage increases, or a new weapon, if it happened to pop up that time around, because it's not guaranteed. Also, you can be killed from off-screen. Enemy shockwaves can come through walls and kill you while behind cover, and you have a really awkward gameplay overall. What did you think of Returnal? Would you be willing to invest all your time into a game where the majority of people have just stopped? Now, we have Microsoft Flight Simulator for Xbox. Listen, the reality of being able to hop into a Boeing 747 and being able to fly in real time to photorealistic Mount Fuji is great. I'm totally up for it. I can't fly a plane, so pretending to be able to is great. But what did Microsoft do wrong? Well, it's the fact that they didn't give a very satisfying console experience. The whole gameplay experience is really obtuse. The mouse cursor-driven menus are weird, and the online guide just wasn't the one. If you want to get anything more out of this, other than picking a destination and hoping for the best sites, then unfortunately, you're out of luck. This whole game is a staggering achievement in code, but if you're bringing this whole thing to a system without a mouse, keyboard, or wider set of shortcut bindings, then you're going to need to change a few things around for the other consoles. Have you played the Microsoft Flight Simulator for Xbox? Have you played it on the computer? Next is Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Pearl. Nintendo has really shown that their consistent use of the same game feel has really shown its age now. I mean, even back in the 90s, people were getting tired of buttoning through the individual lines of text when in combat. Also, the slugging through the menus isn't desirable at all. Obviously, Pokemon made loads of money because the game sold out pretty much everywhere really quickly. However, did these new games change? Well, just look at Sword and Shield, the 8th generation of twin games, which had many re-releases over the years and people were done with it. Nintendo was smart to bring the franchise to the Switch, but the games never changed from the original Game Boy ones. This felt like the last straw for me. Then if you throw in Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee adapted Pokemon Go's catching system and allowing players to see creatures in the wild, the Diamond and Pearl games almost feel prehistoric. Are they faithful to the originals? Yes, they are. But Pokemon Yellow's remake did make advancements, and Nintendo even acknowledged the outdated way the old games were. This seems like a step back for all Pokemon lovers. Overall, we would like to see Nintendo bring different ways to play Pokemon, so we don't stop playing the franchise completely because that will happen. The show isn't as popular on TV anymore, so the games are keeping the franchise alive around the world. Have you played Diamond and Pearl? What did you think of the two? Do you want Nintendo to change the way it creates its games? Well, that's the end of this video. What did you think about these underrated games? Are there any that you think we missed? Let us know down below.